Hello, everybody. It is an exciting day today. My name is Angela, and I am Director of Communications with She Rises Studios. And today I am thrilled to be here with some of the authors from the latest book out, Womanhood, Identity to Intimacy and Everything in Between. So ladies, congratulations on your book being out in paperback today. That is so exciting. So today, what I'd like for each of you to do, if we could just go around, introduce yourself, the title of your chapter, and what inspired you to share your story in this book. So Crystal, I'll get you to go first.
Hey, yeah, thank you so much. And we're so excited to be here. I can't believe that this is actually happening. So like you said, my name is Crystal Casey, and I am the founder of Flight of the Phoenix. We are a women empowerment collective. And I'm an author, a motivational speaker, and a women's empowerment coach. And I had the idea of putting this book together after I lost my husband, and I started thinking about what would happen to my 4 girls if something happened to me, and the conversations that I wanted to have with them, and or open up the conversations on. Maybe not necessarily right now at the ages that they're at, but eventually, right? There are certain topics that I believe as women we either learn not to talk about, or we're ashamed to talk about, or we feel alone in. And I never want my girls to feel like that, or anybody to feel like that. So that's where the idea for this entire book came together. And my chapter is called Embers of Intimacy, Reigniting Love and Passion in Widowhood.
Amazing, Crystal. I'm so excited. I mean, this is just such a great book for, women and girls everywhere to really gain information from other women, not from, mass media, not from kids at school, but from other women who have lived, loved, and experienced life. So congratulations. All right, Brandy,
Exactly.
hop on in and introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about you and what inspired you to join this book.
Sure. So, hi, everyone. I am Brandy Liberty. I am an enrolled member of the Iowa Tribe of Kansas and Nebraska and a descendant of the United Homa Nation. I currently reside here in New Orleans, Louisiana. So, I actually wrote 2 chapters for the book. And in my first chapter, which is Love, Loss, and Resilience, Relationships After Heartbreak, I dive into my personal journey through love, loss, and resilience as I reflect on my past marriage and relationship with a narcissistic partner. And I explore how it reshaped my understanding of love. This relationship was definitely filled with a lot of emotional and financial abuse, manipulation, trauma, and led to, such a profound heartbreak that it shattered everything I once thought about love. Within my chapter, I discuss the intense pain of this experience and the complex emotions it's evoked over the last 10 plus years. I go through my path of healing, which includes therapy, learning how to set boundaries, becoming vulnerable, and rebuilding my self worth. And so it also helps me, advocate for other women that have been through this same journey, and has influenced my subsequent relationships that underscore the importance of self-care and self-compassion and resilience. And then in my second chapter, which is Getting Intimate About Finances as a Woman, I focus on the crucial role of financial literacy for women, tying it to financial and female empowerment. I look at the historical and societal barriers that have hindered women's financial independence, and I urge women to find their self-worth and take charge of their finances. I covered things like financial literacy that include budgeting, investing, entrepreneurship. And I work on emphasizing the importance of emotional intelligence and mentorship and adopting inclusive strategies to help empower future generations of women like my daughter, and how to assert that financial intimacy transcends more than just numbers, and that every woman has the capacity to master their financial destiny.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Brandy.
You're welcome.
All right, Kyla, introduce yourself to everybody and tell us a bit about your chapter and what inspired you to share it.
Sorry, I'm having like some technical difficulties right now, so I'm trying to like drive around and find some service. But can you guys hear me all right? Yeah? Okay, cool. Well, so I wrote my chapter is chapter 11, and it's called Intimate Insights into Domestic Abuse. And I wrote it because I found myself in a cycle of abusive relationships. And after the last one, I had to stop and think, like, why does this keep happening to myself? Like, I'm a successful woman. I've done a lot of really great things in my life, but this is just the one thing that I was never able to overcome. So it was really, really important for me to be able to write in the book about why is this actually happening from kind of like a boundaries. What are we learning as children when we're growing up in broken homes, and why is that ultimately affecting us? So I wrote about childhood exploration at first, and that's kind of like the first part of my chapter, and then I go into what are vulnerable actual thoughts and beliefs that we have. And so I actually break it down into and and to help us understand why that makes us vulnerable and attractive to abusers. The third factor that I didn't write about in my chapter, but I just want everybody to understand, is the actual abuse tactics that can be used by abusers against us. So that's one thing I do want people to be aware of and learn about too, even though I didn't write in my chapter.
Thank you so much, Kyla. Stephanie, why don't you jump in next?
For sure. Hi, everyone. So I'm Stephanie Brandolini, and my chapter that I wrote is called Transforming Your Deepest Wounds into Fuel for Your Calling. And I mean, the title kind of says it all. I wrote this because I've overcome a lot of my own wounding and all of that. And it took me a long time to really face those kind of wounds. It's in the chapter I go into my childhood and touch on the eating disorder that I had that really claimed my life for about like 15 years. And it was something that, I would never want to relive again, but also has shown me that, like, by facing that deepest fear, that deepest wound, that thing within you that you're afraid to overcome, your greatest power lies beyond that. And God, the universe, Yoda, whoever you want to call it, puts these things in our path for us to overcome them. And it took me many years to realize that. And I just hope that, my chapter and all of our chapters here kind of show people that there are like shortcuts ish. You don't have to suffer in, regret or repressed expression and all of that, because I realized that, like, my dream of being a writer and a creative and all of that was really underneath a lot of this fear of showing myself, of coming out of my shell and all of that, and really being seen in the world. And I know a lot of women, especially, and men, of course, but women especially, are afraid to shine or afraid to show themselves. And we don't need that anymore, where it's like, this is the time to shine, ladies. And if I can get over my hangups of like being able to share this kind of stuff in a book, and anyone can. And I'm standing here today, like, doing all these social media things and all these like lives and everything, but like a year ago, I don't think I could have done something like this. But like, because of all the buildup and all the like getting over things incrementally, it often leads to like a big quantum leap. So it may take a while, but that's also like a test, I find, of like, you may have to go into wounds again and again, and similar ones come up, but it gets easier. And eventually it becomes like, not that you want pain or you're like you want it to come, but it's like, oh, here's another wall, and I know on the other side of it I'm going to have a big breakthrough. It's kind of like you just learn to work with these things that you once thought would destroy you. So that's a big message of my chapter. And yeah, so the first chapter, so I kind of like how it kicks it off with like going into your wounds and then going through this whole tapestry of womanhood that we've created here. And like we keep saying in all of our posts and everything, it's not just a book, it's a movement that we're creating here for women on the rise that are looking for something, a torch to be passed along to them as well.
Amazing. Thank you. Shannon, we'll get you to come in next.
Hey, you guys. Well, my chapter is called Shattered, My Journey Through PPD and Mental Illness. I wrote my chapter because I was able to finally take the opportunity to tell my story, um, as my life as a mother. Um, what I went through in that transition from being this young, beautiful woman who thought, hey, I'm ready to start a family, to get in a real big dose of reality that most people really didn't talk about when it comes to motherhood. Um, and I really wanted to share it so that other women can see that they are not alone in something like that. When you have postpartum depression or someone has mental illness, it can get very lonely and feel like other people can't understand. And the judgment and the stigma around postpartum depression and what it means to be a woman, what it means to be a mother, it gets a lot of criticism in our society. We have to be perfect all the time. It doesn't matter what we're going through. We have to put ourselves last and make sure that we look downright scrumptious the entire time. And so I just really wanted to share that part of womanhood and motherhood so that people can know that it's okay and it is something that you can work through and it's something you can overcome.
Thank you, Shannon. All right, Stephanie and Taylor, we'll get you to introduce yourself, the title of your chapter, and what inspired you to share your story in this book.
Hello, everyone. My name is Stephanie Taylor. I'm in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I have a business called Styled by Stephanie. I like to focus on branding identities and really bringing that out. And I do a lot of motivation. I try to say not motivation, inspiration. The inspiration for my title is to get to know yourself, because I believe every journey, self-healing journey, it starts with us. So it's let me introduce you to you. And it starts off by really paying attention to like how things are making us feel. I introduce you to your body, your curves, different parts of you, how to embrace it. And that was my focus with my chapter, is really to have women fall in love with themselves. And some of us have to start over. I know me and my journey, I have a lot to say. This is just the beginning of my story, and letting the world in on it. But I know that I have a lot to contribute. And I really hope that it helps a lot of women just really fall in love with themselves and get to know themselves on their healing journey. So that's what my chapter was about.
Wonderful, thank you. So now in Womanhood, one of the aims is to empower women to take control of their bodies and embrace, pleasure on their own terms. So how would each of you address the idea of breaking down societal stigma around female sexuality? Crystal, will get you to go first.
I don't know if it was just me, but you broke up a little bit. Could you repeat that for me?
Yeah, so just what suggestions or ideas do you have around, how we can break down the societal stigmas around female sexuality and really, empower women to take control of their bodies and their femininity?
Yeah, I would say the first thing is to realize that pleasure and sexuality are not bad words, that they're not dirty or naughty, and that it's perfectly natural and normal to tune in to that side of you, and that sensuality and sexuality is going to show up differently for everybody. It's going to look completely different. So there is no one normal, which is why it's so powerful to hear each person's story within this book. And I just want to take a quick second to say how proud I am of each and every woman who shared their story in this book and contributed a chapter, because these chapters are raw. They are real. They are from the heart and from the soul, and you can feel it. We take you through a journey of womanhood from identity to intimacy and everything in between, like the title says, right? So we start with embracing your identity and who you are physically, emotionally, spiritually, sexually, and take that into building healthy connections. So that's when we start talking about overcoming sexual challenges, sexual trauma, sexual abuse. We get real and we get intimate about the things that we face every single day as women, and that a lot of us are too scared or ashamed or just taught not to talk about. And that is my biggest aim with this book, with this tribe of women, and with this movement, is to give women that permission and that authority to open up and use their voices, especially when we're being told not to. And I'm going to get all fired up, so I'm going to stop there.
No, thank you, Crystal. Anyone else want to add to that?
I just think it's like that can be something so different to every person, to really just pay attention to how things make you feel as you go along your journey, you know, just because that can mean so many things to so many people, and you women all targeted so many of those areas. I just think that I appreciate you all so much.
Yeah, I'll add to that. Like, speaking of feeling, and like I touch on, not touch on really, I go into intuition quite a lot in my chapter. And that's like, you know, the feeling, but it's based on like spirituality and kind of psychic ability. But it's all that same gut feeling, you know, and everyone feels it in a different way. And it's not like you just, I kind of made mistakes at first in my intuition, but eventually you are able to discern. That's the big key I've learned, is like discerning feelings, because sometimes your feelings like aren't the ones to follow, but when you can discern after probably making a few mistakes, that's when you kind of really trust in yourself and just know what's right for you and stand in that. And I think, like, as women with the sexuality piece, like there's often, you know, an idealized standard to get into, you know, like that's part of like the history with my eating disorder, is thinking you needed to look a certain way or weigh a certain amount or fit into whatever. And, you know, we are all unique in our own beauty and our own sexuality, and we get to own that and be free within it.
And to even, you know, for me, picking back off of what Crystal said, you know, when you are a victim and survivor of sexual abuse, you know, you're often told that you shouldn't have vulnerabilities, that you shouldn't, you know, have a found of sexuality or sensuality within yourself because of the trauma you faced, which, you know, has been, you know, a struggle of being downgraded about that, and being able to be your own person and find yourself again in what fits your mold and your idea of what that intimacy and sensuality and sexuality is also, you know, very important and an important part of healing as well.
Amazing.
And I
Thank
just
you.
wanted to add to some of that. Very powerful statements from you guys. Yeah, like I just really feel like this book is going to take a lot of people by surprise. When we sit and look back at what women have gone through, we think about our mothers, our grandmothers, our great grandmothers, and the fight that they had to put up. And when it comes to that sensual and sexual part of women, it's the shame that goes along with it. It's like, to be a woman is to be ashamed of everything. When we want to have sex or we enjoy that, then there's a shame attached to that. We're the ones who bring people into the world. We're the ones who birth babies. Well, they look at you and say, well, we know how she got like that, you know? And it's just like this never ending cycle of just shame and having to prove ourselves all the time. And with this book, it's just like, it's gonna be a powder keg. It's just gonna be, it's so powerful. And to have this interconnectedness with women all over the world, I can't wait for all the reviews to come out and for everybody to really see that, you know, as women, we actually hold a whole lot of power here, and it's fine and it's okay. And it's time that everybody accepted that, even us ourselves.
So true. So true.
And like Shannon said, so much of it is about releasing that shame, right? Like that is a big reason why so many of us contributed to this. And I think really recognizing that there are so many different assets, like the ladies were saying, society expects women to fit a certain mold. But the fact is, we go through some really difficult things, such as birth trauma or losing children or spouses. And these intimate moments are all connected. And it's important to be able to put words to them and to connect with other people who are going through it. Women who don't want to have babies, women who, you know, can't have babies, navigating through menopause and stepping into the womanhood in the very beginning. All of these different facets just look different for everybody. And so I think it's just important to start opening up those conversations and normalizing them to release the shame.
Thank you, Crystal. Absolutely. Yes. Ladies.
And awareness is so important. So I believe everything kind of starts with that awareness portion.
Amazing. Thank you so much, ladies. I mean, congratulations. The book is out in paperback now. It can be gotten on Amazon. It can be gotten from any one of these amazing authors. And I am so excited that you guys are sharing your stories. I mean, the courage and the commitment to put them down on paper and share them with everybody to start these conversations. I hope you all take a minute today and feel really stinking proud of yourselves and make sure that, you know, you recognize what an accomplishment this is. And for all of our watchers, listeners, people in our audience, make sure you pick up your copy of Womanhood, Identity to Intimacy and Everything in Between. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it anywhere books are sold. And let us know your thoughts. We'd love to hear your feedback. Tell us what resonated with you, what really hit home for you. And let's keep this conversation going. These ladies have started it off, and now each one of us can pick up the torch, read the book, share our thoughts, and keep the conversation going. So congratulations, ladies. Thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you, ladies. Congratulations.
Thank you, everyone. Cheers. Cheers. I wish I had a glass